Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Research Roadshow. It's Friday and it's time again for Protecting the Nest. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, John.
How are you doing there in Portland?
Well, I'm doing good in Portland. We got some cloudiness. We got a lot of fireworks this week, and some of them were guns, so that's always a little creepy.
Yeah, we had several casings here outside, and the fireworks were lower and more powerful than usual here.
Yeah, some got aimed at the police, so that was pretty terrible. In some cities, not here, I don't think. I think ours are usually the legal ones are shot out in the river. And they said no illegal fireworks, no fireworks in the city because it was really hot. That week was really hot, but people were doing it anyway. And when they first started doing that, no fireworks in the city, it was patrolled. It was there was some enforcement for that, but not this year. There was tons of fireworks that were not shot out from the middle of the river. So it was with all the fires we've had in the last few years, a lot of them or some of them have been started by fireworks. So it's a creepy thing. And one this year was too across the river, big forest fire from fireworks. So
the forest fires in Canada cannot be blamed, unfortunately, on the 4th of July fireworks.
Yeah.
Although, when is Canada Day? July 8th?
I'm not even sure. I know that Thanksgiving is a month earlier. I remember that. But I don't remember when the Canada Day is.
Well, I saw your earlier text regarding the Sahara Desert and the sand that's being dropped even as far away as eastern U.S. But back in Italy, we have that sand problem all the time.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, from the Sahara. It's coming
from the Sahara, right?
Right, yeah. Especially in the late summer. I know I lived in the Mediterranean for a couple summers, and yeah, I remember those. They called them the Meltemis because I was in Greece, and that means bad winds.
Mm-hmm.
And they blew every year, and we get to Santa Ana in California, Southern California here. But I remember many broadcasts about the desert coming to the East Coast, the Sahara Desert blowing across. So it's not the first time, but I would note that I think we're getting any weather patterns are being very exaggerated by the news, and I think we're seeing that. Oh, hi, Amber! I'm so glad to see you.
Hi, Amber. Good morning.
Guys.
Yay.
Hey, what's the topic?
We're talking about the Sahara Desert and the various things that are the natural phenomena that they're trying to blame on climate change.
Oh, did you so I know that this isn't the Sahara, but it's in the desert region of of like where the border goes along through into California. There's areas that have been taken over by the cartel. And Americans are coming up missing. And the only reason why I know is there's a guy who does contracting for the EPA. And he had studied what's going on in Ohio, which is still going on. And the EPA is now admitting it and finding toxic levels in people's basements there. But he had moved on from that and gone down towards the border to look at some of the issues that were environmental issues, because he was one of those that was excited when Trump laid off people, or when Trump became president and a bunch of people from the EPA left, because he said those were the actual people who weren't doing any work. They're just collecting a paycheck and pretending and making more issues than they were actually addressing the issues that need to be addressed. And so he was really excited about that, but he was going through an area where he was camping, trying to get to where he was going to be collecting samples and seeing what was going on, where people had been saying they had seen weird like dump sites. And he was approached by some guy who couldn't speak English, who had to use a translator on an iPhone, who had like an old like Uzi gun. And so he got through there after talking to him and saying he was going camping. The guy said, well, you got to leave this area. This was U.S. territory. Like, this is U.S. border. This is like above the border in the United States. And he got to his destination, and he had kind of said something to some people that were less than 30 miles away in a town. And they're like, you're lucky to be alive. You're lucky that you weren't kidnapped to do labor in the marijuana fields. So literally they have huge marijuana fields over the border in America. And because Americans want it and because they beg for it, there are Americans getting kidnapped and forced to labor in those fields. And the feds won't do anything about it because when they tried to, the sheriffs stopped them. And the sheriffs said they were handling it. And so every day they arrest 30 or 40 people who are working or cartel members, but that's why they're kidnapping other people. So it's crazy. It's freaking crazy. And yeah, so that's happening in the desert region here.
Well, it was happening in Northern California too, before legalization. It was all run by, there was a lot of kidnapping going on of people that were working in the fields and the trimmers, and people would go missing. They would just be murdered and never found. And there were some documentaries about that. And that's what, legalization was supposed to make it a good system. But because the cartels are still here, and I was just made aware of this by watching the Kevin McKiernan thing last night too, and his connection to the cannabis industry. I think one of the things that happened with the legal industry is it's getting all patented. The genes are getting patented and turned in to, the giant owners of everything.
Some of it's synthetic. And
yeah,
so they're actually adding stuff to it. And then you just think it's just one thing or another. But it's like, I think I'd read it's Delta 8 or some of these other things, and they're adding synthetic materials into it, but they're not telling people. So you don't know about it. It's not on the labeling.
Because the original synthetic THC and CBDs were dangerous and hurt people, as opposed to the natural products. I mean, we got to remember that before the turn of the last century, most medicines were based on cannabis. And why was that? It was because what I learned running the Parkinson's Alternative Medicine Group for 10 years, and in the naturopathic college here in Portland, that's 100 years old, and they were doing, education for doctors, any doctors, MDs, naturopaths, whatever. Every year they did one on cannabis because it was about to be legal, and then it was legal during that time. So they were presenting the research papers, mostly from Israel and Germany, to doctors for their continuing education certificates. So I went to a lot of those. And what cannabis does is it balances your immune system and your nervous system. So there's a lot of potent compounds in it. There's over 400 terpenes. It is an amazing basis for a health system, but it's being turned into the same old thing, the same old, Rockefeller medicine, snake oil that happened to all the other natural-based things that actually work with the body to heal you. It's nature's way is to take plants and mushrooms and balance them. And, we have what we need to heal with natural compounds. Most of the cases and there's tons of research about it. So it's time to learn. But I was thinking of you, Amber. I just want to mention this too, because the role Kevin McKiernan played in he just like Mike Lee. Remember, you did all that research about Mike Lee, and what did he do for our election system? First of all, he started a great big conference in Amsterdam. He got all the apps he wanted. He scraped all the apps, and he took them to BlackRock. And I think Kevin McKiernan is playing that role with the cannabis industry. He's getting all the patents and, getting involved in all that. And then I'd be real surprised if he wasn't already connected to BlackRock, but he's probably headed in that direction, if not.
Well, so my bigger issue is like when someone comes out and says, beware of this, we don't like this. This is something that we want to get on top of. So this is how I kind of look at the grid. Let's say I'm the upper echelon that has changed the idea of medicine. People call it Rockefeller, but there's been a lot of people who actually have dumped into it and they are partaking in it. And they're the kind of hidden hands that want this to be a money-making scenario, that they don't care if it causes another symptom, that's another drug. And let's say I had exhausted this level of people that everyone knew about. And it came out, but I already got what I needed from these people. And now I slightly shuffle. I decide who upset me, who tried to pull away, who was a little disloyal, who may have shared information. They become my scapegoats, who may have done an interview and looked like they jammed it up on purpose, or they looked, insane on purpose. And I make them the scapegoats. And I move these other people, these inconspicuous people that are in the front to a more inconspicuous position. Now I have all these people who are supposedly healers, or the ones who are talking about how bad this vaccine was, how bad this was, how we need to go natural, how we need to do this. Now I'm going to add those items and products that I still want tested and I still need into that natural thing. And these people come up, and then everyone now is ready for a new way of medicine, except the new way of medicine still includes a synthetic grouping added into the natural. And then I want to control those natural substances. I want to control that farmland that grows those natural things. And then I want to act like I don't know who owns it, as I allow cartel to be in charge of it. And then I allow people to be sucked into it, because then I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about paying anybody. I don't have to worry about anything, but the product still comes to me. This product I can test on, add additives, synthetics into it. Then I can let the heroes come in and say how they're going to change things and make it better. And then I'm going to put in laws to change labeling requirements. Then I'm going to throw out crazy labeling that makes everyone go, stay away from this. And then they think they're going into something natural, but I've already done something there as well, because I own that patent as well. But everyone has to sign an NDA, which doesn't allow them to talk about what is actually in these products that they call organic. And then after doing all of that, and I've captured the new zone, after I've caused distrust and anger in everyone who trusted this new way of medicine that it took away from the natural sphere to begin with. And now I'm killing naturopathic doctors, homeopathic doctors. I'm making them look crazy, the ones who will not jump on board to be the hero and allow me to add the synthetics. And I shuffle them into a censored group, but then I heighten up these who are good at molecular science, biomedical. They were already in virology. They understand this, but now, so they don't get caught up in being scapegoated. They don't get caught up in getting in trouble or people finding out they're snake oil salesmen. I let them be the spokesperson for the natural products. And then they carry it out, and then everyone gets captured again in the new natural way to do things market. And the ones who always believed in my old way of medicine, there's still a market for them. Now I still have the whole market. People need to start seeing it in that way, so that then they know where to look to actually get natural products. Because if you don't know where to look, you're going to get stuck in one of those camps.
That's a very good point. The labeling issue is especially pertinent, because I remember back around 2015, there was a big scandal in Vermont, because Vermont is fairly libertarian, and they wanted to have labels that said this product contains no GHG, the hormone, the bovine hormone. And for some reason, the Vermont legislature says, no, you cannot put a label that says does not contain the bovine growth hormone. And that created a furor. But within 6 months, it got swept away. No one cared about it anymore. But it's a fundamental part of what you just said.
Well, I think the no GMO label, we want to be able to trust it. But now the synthetic stuff doesn't apply to the no GMO, even though it says GMO means genetically modified organism. But there's another squirrely way around that. So the synthetic stuff is not part of it. But the other thing that Kevin was talking about, of course, was SV40. And I think Deb just put this link I put in there, I sent to you. that is the fact checker thing about SV40. And what it says is that, people are talking about SV40 in the vax, but it's impossible for SV40 to be in the vax because the vax is entirely synthetic. So it couldn't be in there because it's natural. And this is a crazy argument because the one that was natural, or the one that was all synthetic, was the very first one people got. And after that, they stopped making it all synthetic and found ways to make it faster, and be able to get everybody all their boosters. And in that case, that's where some of the SV40, what do you call them? Promoters got put in, but they are the synthetic ones. They were worse than the originals because they're SV40 and SV41. And they were OIR, I believe it's called, or OIS, I think, which was that they're synthetic promoters. So that means that all the research that went into SV40 to make it dangerous, to make it cancer producing, to make it fast cancer producing, the 13,000 papers that Nick was talking about last night or yesterday morning with John, all that research did get put into this vax. And it is there, and even further versions of it. So it's the squirrely language again, saying no.
Well, I would say the most important thing for people to do that are on the same page is when we know that specific people are going to be speaking, like on Twitter Spaces, or there's going to be a way in which people can speak. Those questions need to be formatted, okay? Because what happens in research that I've noticed, and it's probably the thing that I'm most annoyed about, period, is that everybody is in their research groove and they found their stuff. And then we all hear this person's going to be here. And then we go there and we just sit. And then they're asked stupid questions that have nothing to do that would help us gain anything with research. And we waste hours of our life instead of everyone formatting or like understanding this is what we need to do in order to ask this particular thing so that the answer coming back gives us more to look into, because then it's just a waste because you're just hearing them talk about something they've already written in a paper that we already know, and that's the frustrating thing is because sometimes in the research community, let's say I'm able to get up there and ask a question. That question might only be important to me. Then you got 12 people who had questions, but there were really 2 important questions that would have helped everyone's research. I wouldn't know that. Maybe someone else who's researching wouldn't know that. So that's why it's important to like somehow formulate, these are 4 things we need to know. These are 4 things that if we have the opportunity on a YouTube show, on a Rumble to ask a question, to text somebody and ask them to ask. Like these are things that help you get further instead of combing through hundreds of papers through a sentence they said 7 years ago that they may or may not have changed their mind on, that then later people make fun of you because then the person comes out and says, I said that 7 years ago. But like to get them to say it now, like now in order to confirm now, because then it takes forever. And then there's a lot of opportunity for them to gain more momentum and more people behind them that then shuts down anybody who might be researching whether what they're saying is valid or not. So for me, it's more about having a more streamlined way of getting to the answer in order to not allow those who are perpetrating a snake oil grift to get one over on people way before you're able to stop it, because it's hard to stop a rock falling down a hill. It's easy to stop it before it falls, right? So I think that's, and that comes with the territory. Like that comes with research. This is how things are. But I think when we're aware of it and we can actually address those issues, then we come up with a sharper way where even if we're just in groups of 3, like let's say there's 40 researchers out there and we know them. Like, where's your clique? Who are your clique? All right, you guys come up with something that you need an answer to. And someone who's speaking out like the hero. Make sure you're there. Try to get up there. You three, like breaking up in groups that make you feel comfortable so no one's stepping over somebody or stepping over somebody's research and not ends up not being helpful. But there has to be more of a plan, less of a flying by the seat of your pants. That works with like the top researchers. But those who can get in there, because the top researchers can't because they've been blocked. They know, okay, we're not letting this person up there. So you have to be able to be slick enough to know what to say, when to say, how to say, and when to jump up there to say it. And that's the difficult thing. That's what missed opportunities happen. So, but it takes, and this sounds so sexist, but it's true. It takes a woman to see that issue, because men are just very tunnel vision. Let's go. Here we go. Like big project, go. Whereas it's like, wait a minute, streamline. That's why women were originally secretaries. They saw, well, you can meet with this person here. And like that, there's more of an organizational pattern. This is why women nest when they're pregnant. This is why they make a house a home. This is, an integral thing. So I find that happening. How we saw what happened in hospitals, that's why it happened. There's this, instead of stopping the inevitable crazy that might happen by staving it off in a situation, it's like everyone goes head first into this is what we're going to do. And then there's a lot of lost things that can happen. So I find that in every, not just in a research community, like in your local police department. Hey, we want to become community in the community. We're doing coffee with a cop. That's great, but nobody knows about it. So it's a great thing you did. And you guys all showed up and you're really excited and you thought it was going to be great, but somebody forgot to promote it. That's literally what happens everywhere all the time, nonstop. And so there's just like always a kink in the laying it out. And what you're bringing up about Kevin McKernan, like he spoke to the natural products, but nobody asked him about synthetics being put in them. And that's what we need to do.
Well, it's so hard to keep up with everything is changing so fast. And there are so many places you have to be all at the same time, including keeping your lives together.
Yes, it's super difficult.
That we can't really plan ahead. We have to kind of be, seize the moment, when we are there and keep our heads together. And I think that we've been really well trained by George to see these patterns and to be able to speak to these patterns and point them out, when we are there at the right moment, at the right time. So that is all a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, I would say that you don't pre-think what you're going to do, and you have to allow God to guide you. That's a real thing. But when there's an opportunity, and maybe someone, like maybe 5 or 6 people that just are very curious, they kind of know what to be asking, right? Because with Kevin McKernan, he's looking at the inserts put in the vaccines that were HIV related. He's got his hand in so many things, but what is the thing that will get us to where he's going next? And I think how many synthetics are being put in these natural cannabis products that he's promoting. Like that's,
I think
there's
also
thing.
A fear mongering too with the SV40 and bringing it up, and making the people that took the vac terrified, because now they're going to die of fast acting cancer. So I think what our role is also is to say, how can you counteract? Yes, you can survive SV40, but you can't do it by taking the medications that are going to weaken your immune system. You have to be careful, very, very careful, because you can get these allergic runaway reactions. And I speak from experience, having had one. So I think some of the things that I was looking into this morning or last night, and I sent it to you, John. One of the things I remembered from spending some time with Judith is she was talking about when she was researching SV40, she had to suck up in a pipette this horrible cancer slurry and once she sucked it in. And what did she do? She knew that could kill her pretty quickly. So she took povidone which is an iodine solution. She diluted it to 1/10 and she gargled it. And she said that this mouth thing that she calls black tongue, and people are getting all these tongue cancers and stuff like that. And doing that will kill it immediately. I tried it because I was getting a kind of thick tongue and not being able to speak as well. And I was wondering, what is this? So I tried the Povidone. It is icky, but it's only lasts a minute and then you rinse it out. Don't ever swallow any.
I just purchased some Povidone iodine, and it's great really for many things. And they have it at Target, and it was like $12.99.
Yeah, look at the different prices. $173.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I mean, diluting it, and not only that, people use it as a mouthwash, not to swallow. Right. But it gets rid of canker sores, and it literally, if you've been around people who are just sneezing, they're kind of not feeling well. I mean, it's a great mouthwash, but it's also good on sores. It's good on so many things.
Well, there's another natural thing that I just learned about last night that I put a link in there, and that many of these incredible potent compounds for your mouth are in cloves. And I remember, when you get a toothache, people say chew on cloves or whatever. Well, anyway, this guy did, it's an 8-minute video, and maybe we could run it really fast, but he goes through all the things that cloves address, including heart, lungs, immune system, stomach. It's got all these really potent compounds, Carol, and you release it, but just by chewing on one.
Do you remember clove gum?
Yeah, I sure do.
So they still have it. We have a couple of really cool old candy shops. So they're called like retro candy shops, and they have the old. There was clove. There was there were a couple
licorice, that black kind. Blackjack.
But there was a blackjack. There was clove. There was a couple of other kinds, and they had the natural products in them, and they didn't taste so bad. But they actually had that ingredient in it. I remember asking my grandmother.
Great.
I asked my grandmother about why do you chew clove? Because back then, and when it was early 80s, and she would always have lemon drops, and she would have clove gum, and then she would have other derivatives of clove gum. She said, "Well, this is my clove gum with cinnamon. It's really good for blood sugar, but it's also good for, just not catching your cold." And then she'd say, "These are lemon drops, but these aren't just your candy lemon drops. These are lemon. So they got some vitamin C in it."
Or horehound.
That's what it was. Horehound gum. Yes,
I remember my grandma used to give me horehound lemon drops and swore by it too.
Yeah, and they had gum, horehound gum. My grandmother would have that as well.
Here's the clove, the clove video that we'll watch kind of fast.
Yeah,
let's watch it. The guy has an accent, but he goes through the whole body and how it goes from your mouth throughout your body.
That's awesome. Let's watch it.
Oh, there's no sound.
Did I do it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's start that again. Yeah, my Irish grandmother used a lot of cloves in her cooking. Let's see. Stop. Share sound. Try this one more time.
The hot toddy is lemon and cloves and whiskey. And
it's so good. Well, my grandmother never drank at all. But if one of the grandkids, we were there, she did not want us to be sick. So she would mix that up in a shot glass, and we would just taste the honey, and we would be knocked out. We'd go to sleep. We'd wake up in a puddle of sweat, and we'd be fine. And it was over. Yep.
Okay.
Let's try this one more time.
Food. In this video, we'll explore the many benefits of eating cloves every day, and why you should make this spice a part of your daily routine. From improving heart health to boosting immunity and supporting oral health, cloves have a wide range of benefits that make them a great addition to your diet. In this video, we'll take a closer look at each of these benefits and how you can incorporate cloves into your daily routine to reap their many health benefits. So if you're ready to learn about the incredible health benefits of eating cloves every day, be sure to watch this video from start to finish. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of why cloves are a must-have in your diet, and how we can incorporate them into your daily routine for optimal health and wellness. The first point regarding the benefits of eating cloves every day is improved digestion. Cloves contain compounds such as eugenol that have been shown to have positive effects on digestive health. Eugenol is an anti-inflammatory compound that can help to reduce symptoms of indigestion, bloating, and nausea. Additionally, cloves have antimicrobial properties that can help to kill harmful bacteria in the digestive tract and reduce the risk of infections. This is particularly important for maintaining a healthy gut, as the gut is the home to a diverse population of bacteria, some of which are beneficial while others can cause harm. Studies have also shown that cloves can help to improve gut motility, which is the movement of food through the tract. Improving gut motility can help to reduce the risk of constipation, which is a common digestive issue. Furthermore, cloves have been used for centuries in traditional medicine as a natural remedy for digestive problems, and there is evidence to suggest that they may be useful for reducing symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and other digestive disorders. The second point of the benefits of eating cloves every day is better oral health. Cloves have been used for centuries to improve oral health, and there is evidence to support this use. The primary active compound in cloves that contributes to improved oral health is eugenol. Eugenol is a natural pain reliever and antiseptic, making it useful for reducing toothaches and freshening breath. Additionally, cloves contain antibacterial properties that help to fight against harmful bacteria in the mouth and reduce the risk of tooth decay and gum disease. Chewing on cloves or using clove oil can help to relieve tooth pain and freshen breath. And there is some...
Sorry. I don't know what happened to the sound. Can you hear it?
Commercial mouthwashes, which can be harsh and contain chemicals that can be harmful to oral health. The third point of the benefits of eating cloves every day is improved cardiovascular health. Cloves contain antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that can help to reduce the risk of heart disease. Antioxidants help to protect the body from damage caused by...
Okay. That was interesting. I never ever heard anything about cloves before as being, a health product. You're muted, Carol.
Sorry, I got the leaf blower going again.
I hear you.
And we lost Amber. But yeah, when I was a kid, people would say, if you got a toothache, chew on a clove. And it worked. I remember trying it when I was a kid, and it did kill the bacteria that, if it was an infection or something, it really did numb it and make it better at the same time. So it's, plus I love cloves. I mean, maybe not everybody does, but I love the taste. Oh, you got them.
So we go to the International Farmers Market, and they have the best organic herbs, and like they have ground cinnamon, full cinnamon sticks, cloves, you name it, they've got it, and it comes in the little containers. And then I bought a bunch of jars, and then we saved a lot of our baby food jars, and we saved some of the smaller like yogurt jars. And we have a drawer that we keep right by the stove. And so we pull that out, and it's all of our seasoning and spices with the lids off. You just pull it out, and then you're able to pinch. You have little bitty spoons. You toss it in your food. But this is one of those things that, like I'll take my orange pills, for example, right? I had an orange, and then I'll add a cinnamon stick, and then 4 or 5 cloves, and I'll put it in 2 cups of water on my stove and let it get up to a boil, turn it off, and the whole house smells amazing for the rest of the day. And then, as I'm tossing in the cloves, you just throw one in your mouth and you act like it's a cough drop. Your mouth feels so fresh, and you'll notice a lack of plaque that after you eat, the next time you eat, you'll notice like that film where you're like, oh, I got to brush my teeth right after you eat. That the film that goes away because you eat an apple, and apple's a great way if you're not going to be near a toothbrush. You chomp on that, your mouth feels clean and fresh. But usually food, especially carbohydrates, breads, pastas, things like that, you get a nice film on your teeth. If you've got this, that doesn't happen. It like cleans your mouth to where the bacteria starts to eat away at that plaque where you don't get the buildup after food. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. And like whenever our kids come home from school, if they start to say, well, so-and-so was sick, so-and-so was sick, here you go, clove. And it doesn't taste bad. So they're not like going, medicine. They're just like, when can I spit it out? Yeah, just give it 5 minutes.
The povidone is medicine, that's for sure. But I think that this is also, since it addresses a lot of issues that come through the mouth, and we know that the spike is coming in the air, in the food, in the water. And that's why I'm feeling my mouth feels weird and water tastes weird. And I think some of these everyday little old-fashioned things can really help avoid those bad problems.
But
Absolutely.
it's not just food. It's not just the food and minerals that we're forgetting. You know, things that our grandparents and great grandparents knew. It's a lot of other things that they knew that are slowly being forgotten or actively not taught.
Yeah. What I found, so this is just a tip for everyone. Now, other people may not have my issue, and this was an issue for me, and this is why I had to do it. So I like everything organized, for it to have a place. So I had all my spices on the inside of my pantry door, and they were all in the jars like this. But as I'm cooking, which is further down, I would just grab the salt and pepper that was right there and the olive oil and call it a day. But then, I kept reading turmeric is good and cumin is good for this and cinnamon. And I would totally forget. You can add cinnamon with some of the seasonings with chicken. You don't taste the cinnamon, but you get the benefit, as well as turmeric and all these other things. And I talked to an Indian friend, and she said, you need to come to my house right now. I said, well, I have to wait till the kids. She said, bring the kids over because she's got 2 boys my age. And I was like, okay. So I get over there. She said, come here, come to my stove. She said, stand in front of my stove. I said, okay. She said, do you know how Indians always use spices? I said, no. And she said, open that drawer. And it was literally, here's her stove, here's a drawer. And I opened it. And she had her jars like this, right? And the lid was already off of the drawer, of the thing. And then there was a little bitty spoon in each one. And she said, these are our top 12 spices. I said, well, my drawer's not that big. I mean, this is a really nice house. My drawers aren't that big. She said, okay, get a smaller jar. And then it can be a quarter of the size. And then use your fingers to pinch it, or use something equivalent to what I'm using, but they're right there. And I said, well, I think, and because, we tend to come up with excuses as to why we're not, because we're looking, I don't know why we do it as people, instead of like just going, oh, that's a great idea. So then of course I offered the excuse of, well, I can't remember what goes in what. And she said, okay, you print it out. And she said, look, and she like scooted the jars, and there's like 4 pieces of paper that she had printed out years ago. She had them folded, and one's for sweets, one's for like chickens and meats, and one's for vegetables, because her husband, even though she's vegetarian and one of her children are vegetarian, the other one is not, and the husband is not. And she literally gets it out and says, see, this is when, oh yeah, what did I put in there last time? And then she had one, my recipes, where if I'm cooking this rice, this is the way I liked it. Everyone loved it. It tasted amazing. Type it up, fold it up, put it in that drawer. Once I did that, holy cow, I stopped forgetting. Here it was, and it was just easy. And then it became like an art. Then you find yourself like you're a scientist in the kitchen. I'm going to add this, and last time I didn't add this. And then the worst thing is to go, oh my gosh, I'm out of minced onion. Oh, I got to get it. You just start to realize how important, and as much as the East India Trade Company and, the spice trade caused a lot of issues, a lot of these spices are really beneficial to our bodies. So we can take that gift that was given, not exploit it, not do things horrible to people in order to get it, not still run things secretly, but we can actually utilize the spices as a blessing that they are to help our body. And so I'm going to pass that video along, Carol. So if you could text me that, I'm going to try to pass it to a lot of my friends who want to do spices, but they say it's too hard. Like I did, until my Indian friend grabbed me and she would not take no for an answer. And she made me stand in her kitchen right in front of her stove, said, no more excuses. Like, I told you about the turmeric. I told you about this, do this. And I was like, okay. And it's been amazing.
Well, I think that's such a wonderful idea, Amber, because getting stuff fresh and also getting the aromas is just so important, I think, to this whole thing. But what it is, it's the essential oils in the plants, and those are in the terpenes, and those are the healing elements that they've made a lot of medicines out of and patented. But we have them right there in our drawer, in our cabinet, there they are. And there's lots of super great stuff. And you mentioned olive oil too. And the other video I brought was about a neurologist who's talking about how important the really good oils are for your nervous system. And that's the second biggest, or the first biggest thing that the spike attacks is the nervous system and the brain. And, that's where 1,000% higher problems in the nervous system came from. And so I did put I put that in, and the little, his introduction is really good, but it's too long a video. So let's just listen to the introduction, and then I'll quickly go through the high points of the best oils. Can't hear him. But we'll get this one put into the links too, and I'll get it to you because.
And just so you know, Amazon.
John, you're muted.
Just so you know, Amazon still sells cloves, and so you can order it probably from the manufacturer.
Cool.
Well, buckle up, health explorers, because today we're diving into the world of fats. What do you think? We've come a long way from considering fat as a bad word. As it turns out, fats are essential for our health in many ways than ever imagined. It helps us produce necessary hormones. It aids in cell growth, especially nerve cell growth. It protects our organs, and it plays a significant role in nutrient absorption. As a matter of fact, we need fats to absorb fat-soluble nutrients like vitamin A, D, E, K, beta-carotene, and omega-3 fatty acids. So get ready for a sizzling journey through the 5 best fats to cook with for nerve recovery and overall health. Trust me, it's going to be good. And what you can do to overcome it. Don't forget to click on the bell to get notified as soon as we publish new content. All right, let's get started. The type of fat you consume plays a crucial role in the recovery of your peripheral nerves. Scientifically proven to be the slowest healing tissue in the body, peripheral nerves can take 1 to 2 years to fully heal. Now, consuming the wrong fats can further hinder or even halt the healing process. Curious about the worst oils for your health? Watch our video, Can These Oils Kill You?, to find out more. Now, let's focus on the fats that support your nerve repair and overall health. There's an added bonus to consuming good fats you might not be aware of. Good fats satiate your appetite, preventing you from overeating. Carb addiction is the single largest factor that makes it difficult for people to change to healthy eating habits. When you don't deprive yourself of healthy fats, this is truly a game changer. So how do you choose healthy oils? Well, it's not just about the health benefits, but it's also understanding the concept of the smoke point. When heated, cooking oils have a maximum temperature called the smoke point. Exceeding the smoke point causes the oil to become unstable and unhealthy, leading to oil breakdown, oxidation, and release of harmful free radicals, which can cause cellular damage and chronic illness. Oils surpassing their smoke points release a substance called acrylamides and acrylamide, These chemicals produce an unpleasant burnt flavor in your food, but the consequences are far more reaching than this. Acrylamides and acrylamide have been identified as being human carcinogens or cancer-causing agents. When these chemicals are airborne, like when you burn oil in your home, it can cause irritation and damage to your lungs. So make sure you know what the smoke points for all the oils that you're using. Now, it may surprise you to find out that most smoke points listed online are incorrect, and some of them are totally fabricated. In fact, the Wikipedia article called Smoke Point, which has a large table listing several dozen oils with their smoke points, gathered a large part of their information from websites and not scientific sources. As I review the oils you should consume, I'll also share their smoke points. Now, these came from credible sources like Bailey's Industrial Oil and Fat Products. This is a hard copy text, 6th edition, 2005.
Okay, Carrie, you wanted to stop it there and move to the next segment?
Yeah, go to the olive oil part, or the he had this other kind of oil I'd never heard of that was cultured oil. So I
What's
put a little
that?
bit of
Is
that.
it like ghee?
No, well, ghee is. He also talks about ghee, but cultured oil is something that is actually cultured like sauerkraut. He talks. I've never. We could let him talk about that one, but the other ones he mentions. Olive oil is the most important one after this cultured oil that he talked about. So are you playing the cultured oil thing? Yeah, here it is. We'll just listen to a little bit.
In a second.
The health benefits of this oil have been widely discussed by Dr. David Perlmutter, a neurologist and functional medicine doctor. This is the first cooking oil made by fermentation methods, resulting in high levels of healthy fats, and it boasts a high smoke point of 485 degrees. This makes it ideal for bacon, stir fries, and for high heat cooking. Another important fact about this oil is that it's high in monounsaturated fat. In fact, higher than olive oil. Additionally, you don't need to worry about omega-6 fatty acids in cultured oils. Okay, let's move on to number 2, one of my favorites, extra virgin olive oil. Notice I said extra virgin. This form of olive oil is usually cold pressed and does not go through a refining process like regular olive oil. Olive oil has served as a gold standard for oils in kitchens across the globe, and this is due to its versatility and flavor. With a smoke point between 350 to 410 degrees Fahrenheit, this oil is very resilient, making it perfect for bacon, sauteing, or use in salad dressings, sauces, and marinades. Olive oil has tremendous health benefits. Olive oil is rich in oleic acid, vitamin E, phytosterols, and 30 other phenolic compounds which function as antioxidants to fight free radical damage, reduce inflammation, and boost immune function. In fact, 2 phenols, oleocanthal and oleuropein, have been shown in clinical studies to have anti-inflammatory effects and have proven beneficial in lowering blood pressure and helping to prevent LDL cholesterol from oxidizing. Further research has shown that the compounds found in olive oil may help prevent conditions like obesity, metabolic syndrome, and type 2.
We can stop it here, I think, if you want. But what he doesn't say is that
these very polyphenols that help the oil resist breakdown and oxidation.
What he forgot to say in this, and it goes on, it's like a 17-minute video, so we don't need to get through the whole thing. But the Mediterranean diet, which is based on olive oil, is the healthiest diet in the whole globe. When there was a bunch of research done on which diet gives you the least amount of cancer and the longest life and all that, it was the Mediterranean diet. And the olive oil, the way they eat olive oil a lot, I'm sure you know about this living in Italy, John, a lot of times you just pour it fresh on top of anything. Salads, vegetables that are already cooked, whatever. The dressing is just raw olive oil, so you don't really need to cook it. And it's not so good when it's fried, especially with starches. That's when it gets those other compounds in it. But then it goes on.
Only fry on very low heat.
Yeah. A little saute, right?
Right. The other reason that the people in the Mediterranean are so healthy, Carol, is that they were constantly being invaded, so they did not trust foreigners, especially in the past 60 years. And so the Rockefeller medicine took a very long time to make inroads into many of the islands and the Mediterranean border towns.
Mm-hmm.
That resistance to Rockefeller medicine also helped.
And there's lots of garlic in the cooking, which is, allium, which is a really wonderful compound too. So really, we can be a lot more healthy just by kind of going back to the old ways. We won't need all these drugs. We won't be so depleted from everything. That's my point. But there are some other oils. He did get into coconut oil. He said coconut oil is a little overrated, but he neglected to talk about how important the medium chain fats are. And that's what it has a lot of. And that has tremendous healing compounds. But he said that there's some, that's not as good as olive oil. Ghee, he said, was really wonderful because it took out the solids of the milk that go bad and cause the problems, but leaves all the good qualities of the oil. And it's a real high cook point, and it's very, very healthy. And he did talk, I noticed Charles mentioned about hemp oil. Also, chia and flax are really high in omega-3, which we don't get enough of. It's in fish oil as well. So there's lots of ways. And avocado, he mentions avocado too, which is a very high temperature oil and can be used successfully in high temperature oil cooking. And avocados are good in a lot of other ways too. So there's just so many things that are delicious and help you stay healthy. So,
yeah, John, I sent you 2 emails. One is cloves, and it shows something that you can just pop in your mouth. And then they're just 2 different emails. Pull them up. They're non-GMO. They have the actual. They're no synthetics, and they're the natural product. But it's how people, they get a sweet tooth, or they want something, or they're really excited and they just grab something. They don't think about some of the stuff in it. This is something to always have in your purse or always have in your car. And then when you're like, you know what, I'm hungry, but you're not really hungry. You're probably more thirsty than anything. Probably need a little water. Something like this to always have on hand is delicious, but it's also something that doesn't hurt you. So this is St. Clair's Organic Herbal Pastilles, gluten-free, vegan, GMO-free, plant-based, allergen-free, made in the U.S., and it's just organic clove. And it's a little like candy. You pop it in your mouth, and then you're getting the clove, and you don't have to feel guilty. And so something like that, always have these little things that add, you're not just putting toxins in your body because you might want to chew on something, or, it's just, it's always good to have that. And then the other one that I sent are different types of gum. I sent Carol a picture of like the old fashioned tea berry, blackjack, Beemans, and clove.
Beemans, that's the clove.
They're so
one.
good.
Yeah.
And I sent you a picture on a text, but the other email, that looks good. I'm going to order this one because it has some of my favorite flavors.
Well, I love your little tips, Amber, about replacing bad habits with good habits. You just sort of slowly keep doing that. And
these are, scroll back up, John. Scroll back up.
Better.
Scroll back up. No, on the side, scroll back up to where, right there. So it's Simply Gum. They have peppermint, cinnamon, ginger, fennel, maple, and coffee. And there's no non-GMO, no synthetics, no fake sugar, no aspartame, nothing.
And pricey.
But if you just put it in your car in the glove box, and then you're like, man, I think I want to stop for ice cream, but you've got ice cream at home, and it's probably not going to be ice cream that you know what's in it. And you bought the specific ice cream you want at home because you know what's in it. And so why stop off, spend that money when you can just, pop a piece of gum in your mouth or something, and you don't have to feel guilty. And so it's about having it, not just always constantly, eating it because it's there, but when you're susceptible to buying junk, to have that, because that will sustain you till you actually get where what you're purchasing, or you're at the store and you could grab the organic apple or the pear that's in season right now that's delicious. I want the Bartlett pear, I want this. Okay, well, you're not going shopping for another 2 hours, but you've got a hankering. Grab a piece of gum, and make sure it's healthy. So those are the things that I wanted to share, because I think that once we add those materials and we just have like 2 Oreos, right? Now we want 4 next time, or 8 the next time. So why give in to something that we know is they put additives in it that are addictive. And so you're pretty much like going and thinking you're supplementing with something. Oh yeah, I'll just have 1 cookie, and not making it yourself, or knowing it's got healthy stuff in it. And then you're susceptible to craving it more and more and more and more and more, when you could just grab something that you already know is there at the times where for me, it's when I'm running errands. If I get a hunger pain and I don't have an orange or an apple or some Rainier cherries or things that I know here, and I bring a Ziploc bag, I am tempted to stop off and grab something I grew up on. Oh yeah, this sounds good, because I went to the store, I went to get gas, and that's ridiculous. And so, I'm giving you the tips that I have to have, because there's a lot of times that's just a waste of money.
I was very happy to see the last time I went to Publix, a woman in the checkout aisle was telling her daughter why she couldn't have the gum that's in the checkout aisle, right? Because it's obviously not healthy for you. And she came out and said, they put these here, honey, because they want you to buy emotionally. Last minute, I'm a little hungry, I might as well grab this. And she said, you have to be she tried to get across the idea, you have to be self-conscious. You have to control your desires and not buy in this aisle in the checkout.
Yeah, what I've tried to teach my kids. So this is a big, we're going through this issue right now. This is no joke. When we go through the line, hey, can we get a Hershey bar? Hey, can we get this? Hey, well, no. And so my big thing is, if you're going to be hungry and we have 2 hours till lunch, these are growing boys, right? You can't tell them, don't be hungry. You want them to eat, you want them to grow, but you also have to not have them take their allowance that they just worked with daddy to earn to buy a $3 candy bar that's not even good for their body. So you're grab some snacks. And then we do snack baskets, and we also do snack jars. So anything I put in these jars, come and grab a handful. So one is pistachios. The other one is walnuts. The other one is pretzels, organic, non-GMO pretzels. The other one is this, it's at Trader Joe's, but it's like the pirate's booty, but it's like these little puffs, and they're like cheese puffs. And then there's a little thing of organic chocolate covered almonds. So they're dark chocolate covered almonds. They can grab, put it in Ziplocs, and make themselves a sandwich, knowing that they're going to be hungry again at lunch, right? So grab what you want. I've got the organic protein bars, and then the really good ones that are really strong protein peanut butter bars that have to be refrigerated, or their yogurts that are the organic non-GMO. Sometimes we do almond or coconut based yogurt, depending on if we've had too much dairy. And if they don't remember it, they're out of luck. If their brother remembered, he could share. If I have something, I might share, but it's to teach. If I know mom has to run these errands before we go to the pool, and we're going to eat at the pool because we packed our little cooler, and then we're going to bring it out. And when it's adult swim time is when we all sit to eat, and we can't wait till then, we better grab our snacks. It'll teach them lesson now, so that they don't impulse buy or then stop off at fast food because it's right there, because you're putting things in your body that are going to addict you, and you're never going to get out of that cycle. It will never end. And that's a struggle for us. We're on the go. We have 2 boys that we don't want them to sit inside all summer. We need to go. It's adventure time. But they also need to learn to prepare. I should not, at the age 12 and 9, be still telling them to grab their bottled water. Yet I have to. And I'm this non-critical thinking is going to have to stop. Like, we're just going to go somewhere really hot. And if you don't have water, you suffer. Like, until you learn the hard way. Because me just, oh, I've got bottled waters in the very back, so just in case they forget. No more. Like, they won't know about them. I'll have to have them in case of emergency, because it's what you do as a parent. You don't want to be on the side of the road in the middle of the heat. Cars broke down. You don't have any water. That's stupid. But they shouldn't have access to it because they forgot. You know,
have to be
these are the
careful.
responsibilities that we teach them.
You have to
think
be
that's
careful
a
with
good
the protein bars, though, Amber, because I heard that in Canada, at least, they were caught putting little amounts of the ground up bugs, crickets.
Yeah, no,
and whatnot.
not these. So these are the organic, like we, and there's a group I'm in, and it's called Where Are the Bugs? And all the moms go around, and when they see where it has, you know, the ground up bug or something that is indescriptive, because then now that's the thing they say, you know, by bioengineered, and you have no idea what that means. So they take a picture and say, stay away. So like all you
Yeah.
gotta do, and then you can go on the form and say, this is what I have. And they're like, no, those are perfectly safe. So this is literally protein and peanut butter. They're expensive. That's why we only buy like 12 a month. And it's for like, we're about to go somewhere and hike, or we're really going to have to put out a lot of energy, and we'll have that protein bar for either before or after. Because it's really, really healthy, like super duper ingredients. That's why I say refrigerated. But yeah, like and if you notice, they have sales on like 48 granola bars for $7.99. Read what's in that. It's literally high fructose corn syrup. You name it, it's in it. It's gross.
Well, one of those sneaky ingredients that does mean bugs, two of them are E120 and E904. So they're, you know, they just call them things that are secret codes.
Isn't that evil? That's evil.
It is.
Yeah.
That's evil. Why isn't our FDA monitoring that? Like, this is how
Well,
captured.
the FDA is captured just like the CDC,
yeah.
and all of our regulatory agencies. Clearly, they're just captured by industry, and that's what's happened. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse, and it's time to reverse that. And I'm really happy to see RFK is really calling that out, how, you know, all those things need to be a really deep dive, start over again. That's exactly right. There's so much wrong that we need to just get rid of the laws that are all squirrely and adhere to the Constitution. I mean, just take it back to the basics. So
I think one of the most important things that we can do here on this show and with the Osprey Network in general is to get subscribers to the point where they can ask smarter questions, and get the people closest to them to ask smarter questions of our elected or about to be elected officials.
Yep, it's great to see. I also love to see that his economic advisor is Charles Eisenstein, who wrote a book called Spiritual Economics, based on gifting. So instead of economic system that's based on greed and accumulation and growth until ever, it's one that's based on, you know, generosity. And
I wonder if they have that on Audible.
His book, probably. Yeah, I think he wrote that book quite a while ago.
Will you send me the link to that and to the Clove thing? Because I want to share the Clove thing, and then I want to either read or listen to the spiritual economics, because I think there's a lot of people that think that if there's a way to help economically but also feel good about it rather than just accumulate, I think encouraging that, because remember, whatever you put out and people see, when they see other people give you a good response, they mimic it, especially when they have no idea what to do. So you have a huge responsibility to be a trend starter. If you have an idea of what works better, you have to take that on as like you have to be a good example. You have to be well communicated, and you have to be uplifting and joyful. And then you have to admit if you made a misstep and it wasn't what you thought it was. So you actually have to be on your best behavior when you start a trend. And so spiritual economics, I think, might help. And it's based on, be able to decipher.
Do you remember that wonderful story in, I think it was The Hobbit or one of those books? And there were two parties going on in 2 different rooms with a big long table that was laden with food. And one of the rooms, everybody was laughing and having a great time, enjoying themselves. And the other room was totally silent. And when Bilbo or whoever it was peeked in, he saw that the one that was totally silent, people had straight arms. And they, no, this was the opposite. The one whose arms bent, they were just feeding themselves, and they were quiet and not. And the other arms were straight. They fed each other. Maybe everybody had straight arms, but one just was sitting there, and one was they were feeding each other, and they felt they were having a wonderful time.
And I think the room that's missing, I remember that, and I'm a weird person. So what I thought of is where's the third room? It's like the third eye. Where's the hidden room? And the hidden room is the room where they're discussing why there's a room with straight arms and a room with bent arms. And the bent arms are the ones who were neglected or had to deal with repercussions of having nothing as younger. And they began to learn to keep everything. And the ones with the outstretched hands never had to deal with that tragedy. And so even though what they're sharing and doing is a wonderful thing, they have no idea the psychological effect that the closed arms have. Right. And so if both morph together in order to have that discussion where the third actually brings them into one, and that's why when you look at a 3, there's usually like husband and wife, and then God overseeing brings it to one. And that those are things that are super important, because if someone is there to actually decipher, why is this? Why do you feel good about this, but icky about this? How do we blend these together where they start to help one another so that we understand why this became this and this in order for it not to happen again? Yeah. So I always see the third room.
Still joy when they give gifts, and that are well thought out. You have this. You just can't wait till they open it and how happy they're going to be. You have
and I think that's where, like, in society now, which is really horrible, I've noticed, when people get a gift by someone who didn't think it through and they haphazardly just hear something, and then they have to show a fake receiving and the ones who are so spoiled that they got something nice, but it wasn't exactly what they wanted. And so I'm always looking for, okay, there's a problem here, and I'm not going to judge this person. I'm going to figure out why they feel this way. Why did they impulsively buy? Well, because they felt like they had to buy for everybody, and they had like 50 people to buy for, and then they were active and doing this and this and this, so they only had this amount of time, so they just hurried.
Or maybe because they were afraid, they didn't have enough, and they were afraid they'd run out. There's different motivations.
Exactly. Well, what I was talking to a mom not too long ago, and I tend to do this. So if I go, let's say, to the Dollar Tree, because they have a couple things that are really great that you need for camping, like a can opener for $1. Like, that's great. We just need it. If it breaks, who cares? This is what we need to keep in our camping gear. We're not going to bring our top of the line stuff. And, unless we're going to be camping for a very long time. Well, when I was there, I noticed a mom, she was buying multiple of a certain book that they sold in the kids section of thank you cards that they have. And I said, what's the reason behind this? She said, well, we're in a society now that if there are a lot of people at a function and you want to give something special to a few people, it's looked down upon as bullying. So essentially, I have something small for everybody. And if there's children, they all get kind of the same book that teaches the same lesson. But for the special adults that I got something for that's really meaningful because I have a special relationship with them, but I'm not going to see them before or after, these are the things that are for the other adults that are there in attendance so they don't feel left out. And I'm thinking, wow, all the pressures we put on each other by if you feel neglect, then you think you're being left out. But if you do leave people out, then there are bullies that do that. So there's like this weird place in which you have to not be a bully, but you also have to not assume someone's being a bully, but then you also have to protect yourself from somebody who's just trying to rub it in everybody's face. I got this person something, but none of you mean anything else, versus we have a special relationship, so I got them something. And there's so many nuances to life now, and we've overcomplicated it. where people are having to think on top of thinking, on top of thinking, on top of planning. So then we look like a society that all we're doing is purchasing and consuming. But a lot of that is to make sure nobody thinks we're bad. And so it's like this weird guilt thing that's happening. Yeah, but but we do need to stop that aggressiveness, that anger and meanness that people use in order to put someone in their place or make them feel like crap. But at the same time, we have to uplift people who are acting like crap, who are not doing what they should. So there's the balance is so like hairline thin. Well, and I guess that's why Jesus said it's a narrow road.
Some of the ideas of spiritual economics are based on the Native American potlatch, where when things get out of balance and somebody gets too much stuff, then the expectations are that they have to give it away to everybody, and find out who needs this and who needs this, and have a big celebration to redistribute when someone has accumulated too much.
Right.
So
well, Carol,
concept.
Right. But here's where so we have stuff our kids have outgrown, right? And I could go to Goodwill, but when I go to my tax return, I'm going to have to label each thing, or I could just turn it all in, get a receipt, and not claim over $500 a year. Right. But what I'd really like to do is to find out around me who needs it.
Yeah.
But how do you do it when everyone else has decided they're going to go to Goodwill to get their stuff? They don't put their information out there. So we literally will have to see a kid, see a mom, learn how to approach them, ask them how old they are, say we're looking to try to get rid of our kids' play clothes so that, the nice stuff that the mom has for them, they don't have to play outside and ruin those. We've got plenty of play clothes for them. And then I'll resell their nicest holiday outfits to the moms who want to purchase it at a lower price, like a nice, holiday outfit that they would love to have their child in, that I got on sale because I knew where to shop. Now I can sell it to them for $10, and they would have to pay like $80 when I only had to pay $40 because I got it on sale. Now I've got money to add to the children's future account. They're like their savings for my kids for $10, and a mom barely had to spend any money on a really nice outfit. So, but it's the time and the energy. It
happens kind of naturally if you live in a neighborhood where people get out and, walk and see each other. And
we
stuff.
don't. That's our problem.
Yeah, because our neighborhood, when Silas was born, there's a couple other families that have kids a little bit older, and they each approached, my daughter and said, "Hey, are you in?" She said, "Yes." And so he's got all these shoes that'll last him forever that are really nice. Kids grow out of stuff so fast.
Very fast. Yeah.
They don't use it up. So that's a great example of.
Yeah. And we've literally, I think it's hard to approach somebody when you see them with a kid because you don't want to assume that they need something. So you actually have to start a conversation. Oh, how old are that? Oh, my kids are this old. You know what? I was going through the attic the other day. I found this and this. I was going to dump them at Goodwill. What size? Do you need anything? Because I really don't want to have to drive to Goodwill. What do you need? Where do you live? I'll put it in a brown bag. I'll set it on your porch. Just let me know. And when I'm going through it in these next couple of weeks, if you don't mind, you see a brown bag, I'll even put, met this woman at this point. These are clothes for a kid. And then they'll say yes. But if you just approach, hey, do you need clothes? They're like, what? No, I don't need anything. So it's a very, we're just not in that kind of neighborhood. So it takes a lot more energy. But I find it sad that people dump their stuff off at a place so the place makes money. And then a family comes in who really can't afford it to buy something cheaper when we should just be sharing it with one another and passing it out.
Yeah,
it's so much better.
I love the phrase "make America neighbors again," because that's one thing that we really need to be is to know your neighbor. Everyone should know his or her neighbors, and get. Well, I guess when we get to 15-minute cities, we'll be forced to, right?
I live in a 15-minute neighborhood already, and it won an award years ago for being walkable and for being close to things. So these have already existed. It's not just a WEF concept. It's a good idea,
John,
but not to only be forced to never go.
You could get a hat made, "Make America Neighbors Again." I got one made that says "Make America GMO Free Again." And I wore it. We went to a Trump rally last week, and we wore our hat, "Make America GMO Free Again." Because it needs to be said and it needs to be.
Yeah.
So it's red.
synthetic free.
It represented.
Now
yeah.
they've renamed it.
Well, then we'll get more hats.
Yeah.
We'll get hats that say everything, make America what it needs to be. And it doesn't have to say great again. It'd be GMO free, neighborly again. Like there's so many, and there's people that will literally stitch it for you. And it's like, I think I paid $27 for the hat. That's not bad.
Great. Well, we're kind of.
Can we do Mufasa if you have it?
Oh yeah, let's.
I will. One quick shameless plug for Research Roadshow. We have some significant expenses coming up, and this is really time for a big push because especially in Europe, the gloves are coming off. They're fighting bare knuckles. They're putting really good people in jail for really small things. They are not going to give up after working 124 years to this end. So the next few months, I'm going to be going to Boston for a series of symposia and trying to get the word out about Research Roadshow and why we think we fit a very definite niche, a very necessary niche, but it's going to be very expensive. I have the internet bill coming up a couple days and some other expenses tied to the programming. Please, if you can, support Research Roadshow in any way you can, especially with new show ideas for new ways we can team. For example, I'm trying to team up with Jesse Howell right now. Any idea is a good idea. There's no such thing as a bad idea. Please send us your support. Give us your logistical and moral and financial support. Go ahead, Amber.
Oh, I was just going to say Mufasa.
Yeah.
For a happy Friday.
Mufasa.
Yeah, because this weekend is going to be camping out, doing our little fire pit, and just like cleaning. When you start to grow veggies, the weeds are like, hey, what about us? I'm like, no, we're going to pull you and throw you into our chicken coop because our chickens love you. But it takes like bending over, explaining to the kids, that's what this is what this weed is. This is this. So it's going to be a lot of like just, doing your regular yard maintenance and things that need to get done around the house and swimming. So getting started with Friday music is great. And it keeps you grooving as you're pulling the weeds and making sure your veggies are getting all the water and not the weeds growing around it.
Okay. Yeah. Mufasa. Do you have him, John? Is he handy?
He's here. Just 1 minute while I pull it up. I got to get through the ads first.
I liked what you said last night about something that really stuck in my brain was that people in Italy are losing their houses that they've had for 7 generations. That they're
sad.
They're losing their houses, and that's probably starting to happen here, but it's going to speed up. So with the higher
we've noticed
taxes,
it. Yeah, we've noticed it. In fact, we pushed city council, and they actually passed it and put it in the state's hands to not go up more than 1% each year on property taxes. And they put that and they put it in front of the state. Now the state is going to have to look like the bad guys because the city of Atlanta said, hey, we won't raise them. What says you? So we'll see. So we pushed, and because they saw how many people were getting pushed out. And so let's see what the state does. Then we can call them to the carpet and lay the blame where it needs to go instead of letting them point to the cities. Well, it's the cities. No, not when it's put in your hands. Next.
Yeah, that's the number one reason I get, at least in Ohio and Massachusetts, is, well, taxes are going up, John, so I don't have any money left for neighborhood news or Research Roadshow. But we have to do what we got to do. The show must go on.
We finally here, right? Well, it's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's live again, it's live again, live again, live again, live again.